So we will jump in right into our next panel, which tackles the topic of scoring, its economic relevance and the balance between consumer interests and data protection. Let's welcome our experts from Schufa, Zalando and Coeo Group. First, I want to welcome Dr. Hans-Christian Woger. He is Head of Privacy, AI and Tech Law at Zalando. Next, Dr. Kevin Yam. He is Chief AI Officer at the Coeo Group. And last but not least, Justus Leonard, Head of Berlin Office at the Schufa Holding AG. Yeah, so welcome once again, you all, to today's panel discussion, Economic Relevance, Legal Framework and Digital Identity in the area of conflict between data protection and consumer interests. In our increasingly digital economy, credit scoring and the use of personal data for profiling have become central to business decisions in a variety of sectors, from financial institutions to e-commerce platforms. While scoring offers undeniable economic benefits by assessing risks and fostering efficiency, they raise significant concerns, or can raise significant concerns, related to consumer privacy and the ethical use of personal data. How do we balance economic relevance with the data protection laws, such as the GDPR, and address the growing concerns from consumers about transparency and fairness in the system? To explore this, as I just said, I am excited to be joined by our experts. To start, I would like to ask each of you to briefly explain the role of your company and how you use scoring, or how personal data in this, and regarding to scoring, why it's important for your business. Maybe, Mr. Leonard, you want to start?
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful to be here.
Thank you.
Scoring is actually, for many people, still too much a black box many times, or very often. So I'm very happy about every opportunity to tell more about scoring and its significance and how it works. Schufa is one of the most important and biggest credit bureaus in Germany. And, well, to make it short, the mission of our scoring is to enable consumers to participate financially and economically. That is the benefit for consumers. And the benefit for companies is to reduce their risk while providing services like loans or other products. So there are, and that is very important for me to emphasize the two sides of the benefits: to support companies in their risk management, that is one side, and the other side is to enable consumers to take part in economy and the financial system. So therefore, this is to the benefit to the economy and the financial system as a whole.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Yam, maybe from your perspective, how does that affect you? I think you're still muted.
First of all, Coeo is one of the leading or major European debt collection firms, especially when it comes to the usage of AI and data-driven technologies. And we using and applying AI-driven, machine learning-driven, data-driven scoring models and decision tools for decision making in nearly every process of debt collection. And what is the aim of this application? I would say, on the one hand, we want to improve cost-income ratio aspects. That is clear. But on the other hand, we see a lot of opportunities to improve also customer experience by implementing sophisticated scoring models and models for improved decision making.
Yeah, and last but not least, Mr. Woger, maybe you can give us a short look into how it affects you at Zalando.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, and thank you for offering the opportunity to speak our perspective here. So, I mean, we as Zalando, we are in a slightly different position than the two people I'm on the panel here with. We are the biggest ecosystem for fashion in Europe. We serve around 50 million active customers at the moment. And of course, offering those customers a trusted environment and an environment where they can feel safe to interact with us and to have a great shopping experience is essential for us. What I want to say today is, or want to hope we focus on the discussion is, there is not one scoring, and this is what I heard in the my two colleagues here talking before me. It's very much focused on the public discussion about payments, about creditworthiness. But scoring is much, much more. There's risk-based decision, there is fraud prevention, and those are even slightly more important for us than the pure creditworthiness decision. But simply for us, Zalando is about we started selling shoes. So we are not in the business of offering credit or loans or anything. Therefore, this is what I want to transport here also today. And I think this gets a little bit lost in the discussion at the moment. Scoring is much more than just creditworthiness checks.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's why you were also on this panel. And yeah, first I want to give back the question to Mr. Leonard. As you already said in your opening statement, for Schufa plays a major role in credit scoring in Germany. If you could briefly explain the economic significance of credit scoring in today's financial system, if we maybe take a look at that first, and how it balances risk assessment with consumer rights from your perspective.
Yes, thank you very much. As I said in my opening answer, scoring is very significant for our companies, for our economy, for companies and for the consumers. And the benefits for companies and consumers actually go hand in hand, because with our information, credit agency like Schufa it is, we help consumers to fulfill their wishes and companies to reduce their risk. So, but I would underline in the beginning one point which is very important for me, that we as Schufa, we are very aware that we are acting in a very sensitive position as intermediaries between the interests of companies and banks and consumers on the other side. And of course, this comes with a very, very special responsibility. But to come back to your question about the economic significance, companies can reduce their risk. So we help to reduce information asymmetry between consumers and companies. And by having a good picture of associated risks, companies can lower their default rates. And this enables companies or banks to grant more loans and to offer more business transactions or services. And this is, of course, to the benefit of consumers as well, because it supports financial inclusion, economic participation, and it also, which is very important, protects consumers against over-indebtedness, which is a very crucial point, especially for vulnerable groups among consumers. And maybe, I don't know how much time I have, just to get an idea about the impact of credit scoring and its importance to reduce credit defaults. On our own analysis, they show that default rates in the economy without any information would be 12%. And once we add in the end the negative and positive information that Schufa obtains from its partners, these default rates can be brought down to as little as 2%. And I think these numbers illustrate quite crucial the important role of credit bureaus and scoring Schufa provides in creating trust between companies and consumers and enabling more businesses.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe Mr. Yam, you can jump onto that in a way. How do you in your company ensure that the use of scoring models doesn't unfairly penalize consumers? And yeah, how do you address the legal framework concerning consumer data protection? Maybe you can take us into that a bit more. You're muted again. No problem.
I think there are several aspects, but to only name but a few. For example, we take great care on selection and preparation of data in the development phase and deployment phase of scoring models. And every scoring model is heavily tested under real conditions, or one can say real-world scenarios. And so even in deployment or after deployment and in the production phase of a scoring model, we invest a lot of effort for the quality monitoring and quality assurance. So moreover, we also use a lot of AI-driven and machine learning tools in order to detect and identify model-related risk. For example, problems like shortcut learning and data drift. These are technology-related or model-related issues, and we are already using machine learning tools to detect these problems that can occur in scoring models. And especially regarding legal aspects, I can say that so every step in the development of scoring models is subject of a profound legal assessment, also with support of external experts and documentation.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, Mr. Woger, I would like to come back to you. And as you already said in your opening statement, Zalando kind of has a different role in all of this scoring stuff. Yeah, maybe you want to tell us how Zalando uses data-driven scoring in the context of digital identity to enhance customer experience. Because yeah, in comparison to Schufa and Coeo, it maybe is a bit different, and maybe you can talk us through that a bit.
Yes, I mean, we are in a different business.
Yeah.
So, but I think the question you asked points to two major points I want to address here. One is the major point we are talking about when we talk about digital experience or digital ecosystems for the next years is trust. Justus already mentioned this. Schufa is also looking this in the same direction. Without trust, irrespectively, if we talk about as an ecosystem as Zalando is, or as an agency like Schufa, people will not use our services, or they will not shop with us. They will simply take their business elsewhere. And our great benefit that we do have as European companies is actually to give this trusted experience, to build a safe environment. And this is not only a question of data protection. Data protection is one part of it. There's information security in there. There's use protection in there. There's e-commerce in there. There's all that combines it to that a customer makes the decision, I want to take my business to this company, or I want to use this service. And if we don't build this, or if we don't give the customer the truthful experience concerning this, we'll lose our business. For this, for us at Zalando, scoring is actually a very important part, because as simple as it sounds, we don't see the customer in e-commerce. I don't see when you shop with me. I don't have you in my store. I can't say, maybe this person can pay or not, or maybe, hey, this is a credit card that was used last time. But scoring is not only checking if someone can pay bills. It's crucial for transaction. I mean, imagine you lose control, or let me give an example. You lose control over your account because your password got leaked and you use your same credentials for every platform. By the way, don't do this. Use password managers, because this would actually ease a lot of the trouble for platforms. But nonetheless, your password get leaked, your credentials get leaked, someone tries them out on our platform, and it worked. Problem is now we only see you logged in with right credentials. Okay, you seem to be a legit customers. Then you start purchasing, and we assess then, is there a purchase pattern that might actually differ from what you did in the past, and you have a payment method and an address that differs? This sounds or looks fishy. We might actually cancel the order to protect you. We might ask for your confirmation. Hey, did you really order this? And this has nothing to do with creditworthiness checks. It's just security. It's just building this trust with the people that, hey, Zalando is really looking at what I'm doing in order to protect me. And this is, for me, the important part of scoring. Think about of layers of protection. It it's not only can you afford a purchase, but it's also can you, or is it really you? Is someone impersonating you? And this is essential for building the safe space for the consumers so that they trust us, as an ecosystem, and that they trust us as a European company. This is how we look at this.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to jump on a point you kind of spoke about. I guess most of you heard about the changes to paragraph 37A BDSG, and I would like to, because you just said that there's much more to scoring than maybe what most people think when they first think about scoring. So maybe all of you could briefly tell us how the changes in the BDSG would affect your business, or if it would affect your business. Maybe Mr. Leonard, you want to start?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much. Concerning the new 37, first of all, we very much appreciate that the German government has the chance to act so quickly. That's very good. And we think that this new article is an opportunity to improve consumer protection and also to create more transparency while making sure that there is a legal certainty for scoring after the ECG ruling of last December. Of course, we still may see some changes because the legislative process is still ongoing, right? But as it stands now, we do not anticipate any significant impact of these changes on our scoring or the quality of our assessment. And this is also due to the fact that most of the foreseeable consumer protection provisions and the transparency requirements we already aligned with. So it's a chance to create certainty, legal certainty, to improve consumer protection, and also to improve transparency, which is Schufa started Proactive, a transparency initiative already 3 years ago to make scoring more explainable and more transparent. So the development is going, from our point of view, absolutely into the right direction, because the framework, or the frame, legislators and consumer expectations, is an increasing pressure for a strategic realignment. It's not only the BDSG, it's the more broader picture, which increases the pressure for a strategic realignment towards transparency and consumer protection.
Mr. Yam, do you agree with Mr. Leonard, or do you see other aspects that could affect your business regarding the 37A?
Yeah, first of all, with a focus on our industry and debt collection, I believe that the changes with this paragraph 37.8 will enable our industry to use scoring models in a broader way, and I think that makes sense. But there will be still some limitations and restrictions, especially, for example, when it comes to the usage of address data. And if this makes sense, so we can have a discussion about it, if it makes sense or not. But yeah, there will be still some limitations. And especially with regard to the transparency aspect, I would say that the obligation of disclosure, how probability values or scoring values were determined, is a complex issue, because so from my perspective, there is room for interpretation, and room for interpretation is not the best situation when it comes to an obligation to disclosure. And on the other hand, these changes with this paragraph could lead to a situation where certain technologies like AI-driven, generative AI-driven, or machine learning-driven techniques that can be used for build scoring models have to be excluded because they show some non-linearities or non-deterministic behavior. And I think this could be a negative from my perspective as a person who has the technology background. This could be a negative impact of these changes. But overall, I think it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, Mr. Voger, maybe you would like to add something to that. Mr. Yam briefly talked about the address aspect of the 37A. Maybe you want to jump on that aspect?
This is one point that we see for different reasons crucial to or misdrafted, but let me start. So Justus mentioned in the beginning that the German legislator acted very quick. The problem is when you act quick, you don't foresee all consequences that actually do happen in the end. And to our assessment, this actually has happened with 37A, because 37A was from the intention drafted to regulate classical scoring in the sense of creditworthiness, the classical business, because this was also, it was a SCHUFA decision that triggered this. So it is relatively clear that it should regulate creditworthiness just through SCHUFA. Problem is, the paragraph actually itself doesn't say that. When you read the paragraph, it actually can be interpreted in a way that includes all types of scoring I just mentioned before. For example, fraud protection. For example, everything that is done on another level would be subject to the same rules at creditworthiness checks. And this is a problem. By the way, the Bundesrat, in their latest statement, I think released yesterday or the day before, actually raised this and says, please clarify the scope. Because what we see, if we apply the rules of 37A to every scoring that a company is doing, scoring meaning in the sense of we do a probability score of something, so is this a real order? Then we would actually lose the possibilities of customer protection. And for example, what Kevin mentioned on addresses, when we talk about fraud, one of the main things fraudsters, or where you can recognize fraudsters, is by the address, because they need an address, they want the goods. It doesn't make sense to have fraud on our end without delivering something. And there are known fraudster addresses where we know, okay, we don't ship, we can't ship there. We are not saying, or we are happy that geoscoring is regulated. We are happy that creditworthiness is regulated. This is, there I am with Justus, this is a good step, and with Kevin, this is a right step in the right direction. But the possibilities of the unlimited scope of 37A BDSG actually leads to legal uncertainty, and in the end leads to loss of consumer protection, and to close the loop what I said in the beginning, it leads to a loss of trust. And this is a unique selling point that we have as European companies. If people don't shop with us because they don't trust us, they will go and take their business somewhere else. And this is a real risk that I see with the new 37A.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe, Mr. Leonard, would you also say that these developments make it harder to gain trust, or from your perspective? Yeah.
I totally agree with Christian that the scope of the BDSG needs to be clarified. If we talk about the scoring, we as SCHUFA, our message is that we understand that from a consumer perspective, consumer protection perspective, it's simply not able to justify the so-called geoscoring. But the point is, and Christian said it very well, if we have to distinguish, because there is not only the scoring, there is also fraud prevention, identity check, and the legislator, the German Bundestag, is really should clarify the scope that geoscoring is forbidden in connection with scoring, but it is possible to use an address to guarantee that fraud prevention, like identity check, is still possible after the law is passed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Yam, have you got something to add for that point? Otherwise, I would jump on to the next point. Not so far. Yeah.
So I totally agree with my colleagues, and I think certain points have to be clarified in more detail because I think there are some open questions, and in the end, I think that the changes with this paragraph shouldn't lead to more limitation of the application of scoring models or to more uncertainties. I think this is only in the first step a draft, and we should have a further discussion on that in order to improve some aspects of it.
Yeah, I think that will definitely follow us in the next weeks. And maybe to get back to the point of transparency and consumer trust, Justus, Leonard, you just kind of talked about it already, but how does Schufa ensure that consumers understand how their data is used? Maybe we can look at that point in one way, and maybe what mechanisms does Schufa have to kind of regulate that there are no unfair scores being created?
Yes, yeah. A very important question. I think I mentioned earlier before that there is an increasing pressure for a strategic realignment. I mentioned the political or regulatory side, consumer protection regulation, data protection regulation, public scrutiny, and there is also a change in the customer requirements. They expect authenticity, control, simple solutions, and especially interactions on equal terms. And that's why Schufa proactively started 3 years ago already a transparency initiative. Several milestones are already done, but the journey by far is not finished. And some milestones we made to gain a more explainable and transparent score is, for example, well, of course, we started with a new website with a language people can understand, to make it very simple. And a very important milestone was our score simulator. You can play on our website. I encourage everybody to do it because the score simulator simply explains how Schufa scoring works. It explains the principle of how we calculate a person's creditworthiness in 7 steps. You answer questions, and you learn about the most important factors that influence the creditworthiness. And that's a very important step to make scoring more transparent and explainable. There are more measurements or milestones done. We have the Bonify app, where we made first steps for a free digital access to their to consumers' data. So especially the score simulator and the Bonify app, I would like to mention as milestones we already did, because we see this pressure, or the increasing pressure for a strategic realignment. And of course, if it comes to contesting unfair scores, we have a Schufa customer service that ensures any incorrect information can be quickly corrected. We have an independent Schufa arbitration board and an ombudswoman. It's Brigitte Zypries, the former federal minister of justice in Germany. So we have several instruments and mechanisms for consumers to contact us when there is any wrong data in their data set or they have problems with the Schufa score.
Thank you very much. Mr. Yam, can you add something to that from your perspective, from your company? How do you deal with these issues and how do you cope with them?
Yeah, so first of all, so from a legal perspective, we fulfill every legal requirement that is necessary. But I, as a AI developer, AI focused person, would focus more on the technological aspects. So we at Coeo we are already using AI instruments in order to improve data protection management. For example, we have implemented AI tools that can detect and identify, so that they can check every incoming communication via email, via call, via letter, and they can identify and detect whether there is for example, a data protection inquiry or data protection issue. And then we can react immediately on that. This is one point we're using for example, in Germany. In UK, we have a similar procedure, AI-driven procedure for the transcription and the scorecarding of inbound calls. This is one aspect. So we see that AI really can support here in order to improve data protection and compliance standards. And in addition to that, I believe that the use of AI can be used for building more meaningful, more robust scoring models and databases. Because, for example, by the usage of modern AI applications like large language models, you can analyze and extract information from unstructured data. And this information from unstructured data is a real treasure when it comes to build more robust, more meaningful and proper data models and data infrastructure for building tools for decision making and scoring. And I see a lot of opportunities. So in the field of the application of modern technologies to enhance and bolster data infrastructure and risk management.
Yeah, thank you very much. As we're kind of running out of time, I do have one more question for Mr. Voger, but we also have a question from the audience, and I think, or from our viewers, and I think that kind of covers my question. So I would just read that question. Maybe you can jump on that point. The question is, are you aware of surveillance pricing, individualized prices for the same goods or services based on consumers' characteristics and behavior technique? Is it possible that companies in the commerce sector and the EU are using that?
Honest answer, I don't know. I would assume no, because when I look at the legislation, having individual pricing based on specific data points, this is, from a data protection point of view, a leap of faith. And in particular, it would damage one thing. It would damage trust. It would damage how people conceive us. Because, I mean, this would actually mean if I use an Android device or an iPhone device or another device, I might get a different pricing at the same point. And this would harmfully damage how we assess trust and how we gain trust with users. And as I mentioned, if we lose this, we lose the one unique selling point that we have as European companies.
Thank you very much. So as the time actually is up, I just have one short question, and maybe all of you can give one short statement. What next steps should we take in the future to ensure that scoring practices in all of your three different businesses and the consumer data on the other side can kind of be in balance? What is the most important point for you that you look forward into the future? Mr. Leonard, maybe first.
Sure, I can start. I will make it very short because I think that embracing our transparency initiative, which focuses on transparency and explainability, is key to aligning our scoring practices both with new regulatory requirements and also consumer expectations.
Thank you. Mr. Yam?
I think it's important, so not only consider legal requirements and risk management on the procedurally level. I think it's important to integrate it on a technology level. So, for example, one can build compliance pipelines from the AP side in order to integrate compliance mechanisms, data protection mechanisms on a real technical level that they can communicate with development in IT environments and ensure that everything is documented and monitored. I think there's a need for more technical integration, and there are in some branches and areas there are some technologies like this in application, but I think we should spend more time on develop such infrastructures.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Voger.
I'll try to answer in 2 sentences. We need to build services and ecosystems based on European values. And for this, consumer protection and technical development must go hand in hand. Because if not, we'll lose what we have as European companies.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I think we could go on discussing this topic for many more minutes, but we already are over time. So once more, thank you very much for joining us at this session. And there are no further questions, and at least we don't have any time for more questions. And I hope you all have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. Goodbye.
You too. Bye.